Hi, I'm Trisha Morris from Club Scrap. In today's workshop, we're going to be trimming paper and assembling a dozen cards with Club Scrap's Beachcomber Card Kit. Let's get started. To stay organized, I've got my Accordion pocket file ready to go, and if you don't have one of these, don't let it stop you from making these cards, okay? I just like to stay organized. This really helps. We've got 4 pockets we're going to be putting stuff into as we trim all of the papers required for all 12 cards at the same time. It's a really cool system. This little lip sits underneath my trimmer base. And speaking of trimmer, I'm using my favorite guillotine style trimmer from Fiskars. I do carry these on my website, so if you don't have this type of trimmer, you'll soon see how efficient and fun it is to use for this style of card making. I also have a copy of the instructions, and then I'm going to just isolate the paper that came in the Beachcomber kit. Let's sort those papers into the order we'll be trimming them. And we're going to start out with one of the seafoam blue colors. Now, this seafoam color is the lighter aqua shade that has texture on it. So when I place this paper on my trimmer, I'm going to do it face down. So the texture side is facing down, and then when we're done sorting, we'll flip everything back over to the right side. Same is true for the teal. So this is our teal shade. You can see how much darker it is. I'll put that texture side down. One yellow that does not have texture, and then one lime green. Again, texture face down. Let's repeat that. One seafoam, one teal, basically the same exact routine here. One yellow and one green, texture side down, and both of the print side down. All that's left now are our cut aparts. We've got the one with the cute little seal on it. That'll go next, followed by the one with you're great to have around in a pinch. Okay, let's flip that over. Take the entire stack, bring it back up to the seafoam color. We'll put that on top. And I like to put my papers needing to be trimmed on my left and then my instructions on my right. Let's take one sheet of the seafoam and determine the grain direction of the paper before we trim it. So I'm going to hold the paper by the edge, give it a wiggle, study its behavior, and compare it to a neighboring edge. It's a lot louder, it's a lot stiffer, a lot more stiff. So I'm going to go back to this way. That seems to be right. The grain direction of the paper is making it bend easily this way, and that coincides with the desire of the instructions. We want the paper to bend easily from top to bottom, coinciding with that arrow on the instructions. Next, I want you to also take the aqua sheet and perform the same test. So here I can tell the grain wants to go this way, not that way. Okay, so flopping easily top to bottom. And now let's stack those 2 pieces very neatly together and trim them at 9. So I find the hole number 9, push down firmly, especially because there's 2 sheets of paper there. And then down to 6 1/4. Once again, stabilizing. Rotate the piece that's in the trimmer and cut it at 9. This is going to become a card base. So take both of these pieces and set them aside to be scored. And then I'm going to pick up the narrow strip that fell, and we'll trim this at 6 inches. It's just going to take a little hunk off the end. Take both of these pieces and place them in pocket B if you're using the organizer. If you're not, just create a pile B. So A, B, C, and D, and so on. And these 2 little pieces that fell from the end, you can just put those right in the circular file. I'm gonna throw those away. There is a strip that fell. It's kind of narrow, and it measures 2 3/4 by 12. Let's cut this at 10 3/4 and 6 3/4. So this larger piece, pocket C, Charlie, the smaller one, A, and there's a pretty small one, quite small. That's a scrap again, so you can get rid of those. And then finally you have this other remaining strip that we'll trim at 7. Nice whole numbers for you here. 7 inches. And both pieces, the one from the base of the trimmer, the one that fell, they all go in pocket C. We can do all that one more time. So we're going to take the yellow, once again, find our grain direction so it's dipping easily top to bottom. This too, the green, dipping this way, top to bottom. Just Stack them neatly, and we'll start again at 9 inches. Stabilizing, and then sliding to 6 1/4. Rotate, and cut at 9. Here again, we have 2 more card bases, set them aside to be scored, and then pick up this narrow strip here and trim at 6. Took off those little ends, and this guy goes in pocket B, bravo, and 2 more little scraps to get rid of. Pick up the pair of strips on the top of the stack, the narrowest ones, 2 3/4 by 12 inches long. We'll cut at 10 3/4 and 6 3/4. This longer piece, pocket C, Charlie, and the medium-sized piece A, Alpha, and then 2 more scraps to set aside. Finally, this remaining piece here will trim at 7, placing all of the pieces in pocket C, Charlie. If I'm going way too fast, let's say you're a beginner, you're just starting out, you're like, whoa, I can't possibly keep up with this. Let me tell you 2 things. Number 1, you can slow me down by adjusting your playback speed to 0.75. That'll really slow me down. Secondly, hang in there, press pause as many times as you need. I promise with some practice, you'll be able to keep up with me just fine. Let's pick up the next sheet of seafoam. Once again, I want the paper grain direction going into the trimmer top to bottom. And that's because later on we'll be folding the paper in that direction, and we always want to fold with the grain, not against it. Also with the teal, top to bottom, stack them neatly together. Bear with me on this, we'll just take it step by step. We'll start out at 9 inches. Boy, that's been a popular number today. And 4 3/4. Rotate the 4 3/4, and we got quite a few cuts here. So again, just take it with me one step at a time. First one, 10 3/4, 8 3/4, 6, 3 1/4. Rotate the 3 1/4 and trim at 4 1/2. And this will go in pocket A, Alpha. You've made 2 really tiny little scraps that you can get rid of. Then carefully pick up the next pair of rectangles, just the next 2 pieces from the top. We'll trim these at 4 1/2. Place them in pocket B, bravo, and once again eliminate the little scraps that fell. Those go in the circular file. Pick up the next pair of pieces. They go in pocket C, just as is. And you have this narrow rectangle. We'll trim at 2 3/4. Now, this piece that's in the base of your trimmer is actually not going to be used. Set it aside. The square goes in pocket A. And this piece, this long rectangle, pocket B, bravo. Wow, that was a lot out of one strip right there. Sorry. Next, we'll take the 4 1/4 by 12 inch piece. We're just going to cut this at 10 3/4 and 5 1/4. Rotate the 5 1/4 inch so it's vertical and trim at 4. This piece is going to go in pocket A, Alpha. This other larger panel A as well. And then you had these narrow strips that fell, plus these other rectangles. Those are not used. Set them aside. Almost there. Let's trim this at 8. Nice even number there. Both of these pieces need to be scored. So I'm going to bring them over to join their friends that I have set aside for later. And we get to do all that one more time. Sorry. But it works. It's just careful mapping that works. So I'm just taking you through step by step. We want our grain dipping easily top to bottom for the yellow and the green. Our first cut is at 9 and 4 3/4. Rotate and trim at 10 3/4, 8 3/4, 6, 3 1/4. Take the 3 1/4 inch piece and rotate it, trim at 4 1/2. And place this piece in pocket A. I'm just gonna ignore those little scraps right now. Take the next rectangle pairing and once again trim at 4 1/2. This goes in pocket B, bravo. I'm ignoring my little scraps. Picking up the next 2 rectangles, these just go in pocket C as is. Then we have those narrow pieces. We're gonna trim at 2 3/4. This piece in your trimmer is a scrap. The square that fell, pocket A. And this little strip here, B, bravo. Pick up the next strip. This is 4 1/4 by 12. We'll cut at 10 3/4. 5 1/4. Rotate and trim at 4. Pocket A on this large panel. The very next pair of panels also A. I'm ignoring the scraps still and just going to pick up this larger piece that I'm going to trim at 8. And then both the long and the short pieces need to be scored. So they're going to join my friends over here. And then I'll pick up all of these little sniglets, those are scraps, and set them aside. We've arrived at our prints, and the cool thing is we can trim them both at the same time, okay? So let's cut both prints at 9 1/2 and 7. Rotate the 7s by 12. We're gonna make 2 cuts. The first one is at 11 1/2 and 5 3/4. And you just made a total of 4 pieces that are exactly the same that need to be scored. So I'm gonna set those aside and grab, there were little scraps that fell from the end, get rid of those. I'm gonna grab all of these remaining strips, all 4 of them. They should be the same size. And since they're only text weight, I'm just gonna pop them in the trimmer and cut at 6 1/2. The pieces in your trimmer base go in pocket C, Charlie, and the pieces that fell, those are shorter, going in B, bravo. We've already landed on our cut aparts. Okay, so let's take the first cut apart. This is the one with the cute seals on it. And notice that there are instructions to remove the outer perimeter according to the cutting guides. So I'll put this in my trimmer. There's a cutting guide right here and down here. Unfortunately, the paper is just a little too tall just now to see the outside edge of my stainless steel blade down over here in this corner. So I'm gonna cut shy of that line. And now when I rotate, I can see the blade here and the blade here. So I'll line those up as best I can. The goal is to kind of take off the line just as accurately as you can. Then I rotate again. Rotate once again. This time I'm going to look over to my 12, and sure enough, it lines up beautifully. And on my last rotation, to clean it up, that last little cut, I'm going to take off a sliver. Look at that little sliver there. All of these pieces can be thrown out. And I'm back to my home base here where it's time to celebrate is in the upper left corner. So let's trim this at 8 3/4 and 4 1/2. Then rotate this piece so that these little shells are on the right side. We'll trim at 11 3/4, 10, 7 1/2. Always check to make sure you're not going to cut through art. Maybe you got a measurement wrong. 5 and 2 1/2. That happens to me sometimes. Like I might have the number wrong or the measurement wrong, and the art saves me. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4. These rectangles, they are all the same for pocket C, Charlie. And then you have this piece that has the smallest shell on the right. Trim at 3 1/2 and 1 3/4. So you have these 2 squares and they go in pocket A, and then I use this in C. Pick up the next strip here, and we'll cut at 9, 6, and 3. All of these will go in pocket A alpha, or pile again. Then place the last strip here with the smaller shells on the right and trim at 10, 7.5, 5, and 2.5. Let's gather up all the pieces that are the same, going in pocket B, bravo. Then, once again with the starfish on our left, we'll cut at 2. This for pocket B, and same for the other little guy. Both pocket B. There is a little scrap that has dots on it. You can use if you want. You can try one of Julie and Karen's cute little use your scraps cards. Those are so fun. I've been making some out of my little scraps. You can see the one from this project. I have yet to make these into card panels, but they're going to grow up to become card panels. Here's our next cut apart sheet. We need to give it the same treatment where we take off the outside perimeter. So go ahead and line up those cutting guides with the outside edge of your stainless steel blade. Hopefully you're using this type of a trimmer. I know some people actually use a craft knife and cutting mat to do it. Whatever suits your fancy. It's just sort of a necessary thing that we do to make sure that all of these cuts happen at the right measurement. If one of those gigantic industrial paper trimmers doesn't do an accurate enough job, then we run into problems. Okay, situate the cut apart now so that the words "Congrats on your anniversary" are in the upper right corner, and we'll trim at 10, 8, and 4.25. Rotate and trim at, oh, of course, making sure your smaller objects are here on the right. Are you seeing a pattern there? 10, 7.5, 5, 2.5. That gives me all 4 sentiments, all 4 of these the same for pocket B cards. And then I want you to place this in the trimmer with the dots on the right, 3 3/4, 2.5, 1 1/4. Gather up these 3 shells, all for pocket B, bravo. You do have a little dotty scrap. Next, I'll place this in here with the shells on the right. We'll trim at 11 3/4, 10, 7.5, 5, 2.5. Gathering 1, 2, 3, 4 that are the same, pocket A. And then we have the 2 squares with the dots. Dots on the right, we're going to go 3.5, 1 3/4. Both of these squares, pocket A, alpha. And then you have the 2 strips of sentiment. I'm going to stack them together, cut at the same time at 6 inches. And all 4 of these go in pocket C. Charlie, you will be thrilled to know that was your last cut. And now we simply swap our trimmer for a score pal. I just want to quick mention that all of the stuff in your accordion pocket file is going to be heavy. The trimmer was holding it up. From now on, make sure this lays on its back. And these are the pieces that we had set aside earlier to be scored. So let's grab 1 sheet of this text weight paper, and be mindful that when you're working with text weight paper and any kind of a scoring tool, I'm using a metal tip stylus here, make sure that you don't press too hard. I don't want you to crack or break the paper. Let's score this vertically now. So it should read 5 3/4 up here, 7 down here. It's in there like a portrait style. And we're going to score at 2 1/4. So 2 1/4 here. Engage, pull gently back. Now this next step is really important, so pay attention. Rotate clockwise. So clocks go like this. So now it's horizontal, correct? Let's score at 2 1/4. I'm going to set this aside. Score vertically at 2 1/4. rotate clockwise, 2 1/4. Repeat, 2 1/4, clockwise, 2 1/4, 2 1/4, clockwise, 2 1/4. Go ahead and put all of these in pocket A. There are more instructions, but we'll do that when we get to the set A cards. Next, let's make our little easel. Let's score this little guy at a 1/2 inch. So that's kind of awkward. 1 1/2 and 3 1/2. So that's 3 score lines, 1/2 inch, 1 1/2, 3 1/2. Now flip this from the bottom to the top and score at 1. And let's repeat for the remaining 3 of these. So 1/2, 1 1/2, 3 1/2. Flip and score at 1. Grab the next one. We'll go at a 1/2, 1 1/2, 3 1/2. Flip bottom to top and score at 1. And we can do that one more time. Score at a 1/2, 1 1/2, 3 1/2. Flip, score at 1. So that puts 3 score lines really close and then 1 kind of out on its all by itself. All of these are going to go in pocket A, and I will just say these are to make the easel, and that's totally optional. If you don't want to make the easel for those set A cards, you don't have to. I just thought it'd be nice if they would be able to stand up, and it's not really your typical normal single fold card. On this next piece, I'm going to have you score at 1. And when I place these papers into the score pal, if they do have a texture, the texture side should be facing up. Again, scoring at 1 on all of those and placing in pocket C, Charlie. Next, we have these 9 by 6 1/4. I'm placing it in the score pal horizontally and scoring right down the center at 4 1/2. Texture side up once again. The yellow does not have a texture, so you don't have to worry about that. 4 1/2. And our last card, 4 1/2. Gathering everything up and place it all in pocket B. Bravo! What a great way to end it. We've got a huge folder here of stuff all ready to go to make a dozen cards. Isn't that amazing? Okay, let's start then by taking everything out of pocket A. And I like to stay organized. It helps me sort things out a little bit more easily. So I'm gonna just sift through what's in here and sort all the pieces out kind of by size. There's our little easels. We got a bunch of squares. We got our cut aparts, 2 sizes there, a bunch of panels, and I'll help you make sense of this whole mess. And then we've got these big printed pieces. Why don't we start out by just distributing everything. I'm going to use my instructions, page 3, as my guide for what goes where. You can still do your own thing, swap out your own colors, however you like it. But each card is going to get one of these prints. Then let's go with the largest set of panels. Let's start with green, seafoam, yellow, and aqua. And then we'll nest a contrasting color onto these. So I'll go aqua, green, seafoam, and yellow. And then we kind of keep going with more. We'll take a yellow, an aqua, a green, and a seafoam. Then our smallest panel, which is the 4th missing color, seafoam, yellow, aqua, and green. Now this easel is going to be the little scored pieces. I was going to match the size of the largest panel, which was going to end up being the base of the card. So green, seafoam, yellow, and aqua. Let's put a green square, a seafoam square, a yellow square, and an aqua square. And then we'll put the crabby and a crabby and a conch shell and then like a regular shell. I don't know the name of that shell. How about on the smaller sentiments, you're great to have around in a pinch, everyone says you're the best. So the pinch are on the top, the best are on the bottom. And then thank you for the top, and they're right. Happy birthday for the bottom. Now these cards are going to end up being the smallest size card that goes into an envelope. This is going to be too big to fit into an envelope. So I'll take all the pieces and the base and set it aside. So I'm going to take like card 4, for example, all of these pieces plus the little end guy. That was 4, I'll put that on the bottom. And again, the smallest envelope, which is an A2. Take all of these pieces, match them up with one, and let's make this one together. First, we need to get this going and finish up the preparation that was talked about in the trimming instructions. So I'm going to have you flip the paper over to the plain side, and where you're going to be able to see the bump of the score line, and I want you to carefully fold along that bump, and I'll burnish that fold with a bone folder, and then rotate, find the other fold, and do the same thing. Then open. Now with the pattern of the paper facing up, I'm going to have you fold. So these 2 fold lines formed a square right here. On the square corner, I'm going to have you fold over and look at the fold line made on the wrong side of the paper and match it up so that it's lining up with that original fold that we made, and crease that. Then open it up and flip the paper back so you're looking at the plain side, and then give it a little push in the middle here. And when you do that, you're going to see this angle fold want to go in this direction. Do you see that? It wants to go that way. And then you just push that down. Line everything up nicely. You can see I have an imperfection here. It happens. But that is the basic fold. Isn't that handy? Okay, so now we can just assemble the card. I'm going to take this panel here and attach it to the back wall of the card. And basically we're going to build this card from the bottom up. So that's nice and centered. Next up, we're going to add our mechanism. I hate covering all of that print, but I wanted the print on the outside, and that's just what we had to do. Line that up into the center. Next, open everything up. We're going to add the yellow to the middle of this back, and the inner sentiment will be next. Look at how nicely that all nests in there together. We also have this little square, and if you dig a little bit, you're going to find the little crabby. So we're going to adhere him. This is going to go right on the inside here, the part that pops up. So cute. You're great to have around in a pinch. Now this closes, and now we have our outer sentiment. I'm going to do a little something something here. So let's take the pretty ribbon that came. This is the silk ribbon. I'll cut off a length that's just a little wider than the sentiment panel, and I'm going to wrap it around to the back like so, and secure that with tape. Then I can nest it. Now be really careful on this next step so that you don't waste adhesive. Remember, we're going to have just the movement occurs at the square. So if you were to adhere here or here, that means you're not going to be able to open the card, and you've just made a really attractive postcard. The other thing to keep in mind is that these lines right here are your placement guide for your sentiment. Do you see that? If I center it, notice how it just graduates so beautifully. So just remember, adhesive only in that upper left corner. And then just eyeball it right over the lines of the inner sentiment, and it's going to be perfect. Isn't that fun? I love that. Now I know that we're going to be adding this guy. I could add him with liquid glue, or maybe I'll just try it with my ATG here. Then we don't have to wait for that glue to dry. And I'll place that in the center. So sweet. Flip it over and I've got just this one more piece. If you follow along with the provided score lines, you're going to be good. So if it's a bump, put the bump on the inside. Here's a bump, bump goes on the inside. Another bump here, so I fold backward there. And this last bump, fold in on that. And what that does is it's going to create a little easel that we're going to add to our card base. Now, I like to add these with bookbinding glue. So do you see how we have these 2 1/2-inch tabs, one on each end? The one with the gusset will go on the bottom. And the one with the not gusset goes on the top. So I'll align this at the bottom center of the card. And then just add that wherever it lands. Give it a second to bond. And I should have a nice easel for my card. Not sure if you can see that. Maybe from this way. So mail is flat, and then the gusset expands so that the card can perfectly sit upright for display. I love how that turned out. Such a great card. So of course that was the lime green one. This one, same deal. You can't even see my little imperfection. It was completely covered by the sentiment. The third card, everyone says you're the best. They're right. And the fourth card says the same thing, just in different colors. And don't forget, you can just align your little thing and display the card with the easel. How fun and cool is that? Set A is done. And if you want, you can go ahead and prepare that quick little fold on all of those printed panels so that you don't forget. And then you can put those panels right inside the envelopes. Next, let's take everything out of pocket B. And I'll still do my little sort by size process. We've got some cut apart panels here, printed panels, a really narrow strip. Can't remember how we use that. I think it was maybe on the inside. We have our little shells here, 4 little shells. More cut apart sentiments for the outside and inside, I'm assuming. So I'll stack these all up. And let's begin by folding our card bases in half. Takes up a little less room. So we've got our bump of the score line here, and that means I'm going to put it on the inside of the fold. I never trust a score line without lining up my corners evenly, and then burnish with your bone folder. And we'll do that with all 4 of the card bases. Let's take our green now, put that vertically here, and then the aqua, the seafoam, and the yellow. That'll be our order for today. And let's then take the largest plain panel and distribute more color. Seafoam, green, yellow, aqua. The next thing we'll distribute will be 1 print. I always like doing that. It's easy. The same for each card. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have another solid panel. We'll go with yellow, seafoam, aqua, and green, and then our outer sentiment. May the shells on the beach remind you. Those will be these 2 on the left, and then seashells remind us on the right. From your goodie pile, I'm going to have you grab one of the aqua tags, and we'll top each one with a shell. So this truly does not matter, but I will do it how it's pictured. Now we have the insides of the card to finish up. First, I'm going to add a strip. We'll go with seafoam, green, yellow, and aqua. This random square I'm going to put on the first card. Then we have our happy birthday with the shells in a bottle on the 2 left cards, and then thinking of you during this difficult time for the 2 cards on the right. Taking the medium size envelopes, I will open one up and add the contents of the 4th pile to one. I'll say this is the 3rd pile, the 2nd pile, and let's make this first card together. In order to sort of match what this tag is doing, I did have Jacqueline add a little rounded corner to each corner of this little mini cut apart. So I'm going to round that on my radius 4. on my 3-in-1 corner rounding punch. Now, we recently had a redesign of this, so if yours doesn't look like mine, that's fine. It probably still works the same. It just doesn't look the same. I'm going to add my shell to this tag. And order of assembly is kind of weird on this one. It's just because of the tag and the ribbon I want to add to it. We just kind of have to plan ahead a little. So next I will nest the sentiment here onto this yellow panel. And then the shell print, I'll nest that onto the seafoam panel. But I don't want to add this here quite yet, okay? I'm just going to temporarily place it, but I'm not going to adhere anything. Then I'm also going to sort of temporarily position this, and that's kind of where I want it to be. So I'm going to flip this over and just apply adhesive to the left edge. And I'm going to place this so I'm about 1/8 of an inch from the right edge of the card, and this is about 1/8 of an inch from the left edge of the card. If I was really doing this right, I'd be using my grid ruler, but I'm just going to eyeball it. Then I'm going to take this fun yellow grosgrain ribbon. I'll use my fabric scissors to cut it to a point so that it's really easy to thread onto my tag here. And make sure it's long enough to loop around to the back of this panel. I could use foam adhesive or just regular ATG, and that's what I'm going to use. So now I don't really have to worry about this guy. I just want to place this in the spot that Jacqueline designed for it. I mean, she literally planned for the tag to go there. How cool is that? Then I'm going to split these ends of the ribbon and bring it around to the back of that panel. And that is why the assembly order is just a little weird. If I would have attached this to the card base, I couldn't wrap the ends of the ribbon around to the back. You could do something else with the ribbon to kind of remove the complexity. And then I can just add this right back to the card. How sweet is that? Here we have our little strip. I'll take scissors and cut a V into one short edge of the strip here. And it just kind of makes it look like a cute little bookmark. It adds a little interest. Sometimes I like to bring it right to the edge of the card itself. And then I'll add adhesive to the sentiment, adhesive to the square. This is just a random extra. I'll put that down over here. And you've got a really sweet card. The remaining cards in the set, here we go. You can tell the assembly is the exact same, just planning ahead. If you wanted to avoid the temporary placement and trying to figure out where all this goes, just tie the ribbon to the tag. I just think it's nice to avoid the lump of a knot, right? So those are your 4 cards for set B. Super simple. I'm sure you're gonna love them. Let's move on to set C. To finish up, we'll take everything out of pocket C. Kind of that last little shell, a little bonus shell there. And we'll do our cute little sort situation. We've got lots of narrow panels here, some scored panels that are long and short. Here we go. This looks fun and pretty easy to organize here. So let's begin. We'll take our largest scored panel. That'll be green and seafoam, yellow, and aqua. Maybe we'll go this way with it. Green, seafoam, yellow, aqua. And then you have another panel that is almost as long as this one and exactly as wide. Match the colors. Then we'll start contrasting with another panel here. Let's put seafoam on the green, yellow on the seafoam, aqua on the yellow, and green on the aqua. And everyone is going to get a print. 1, 2, 3, 4. How about a larger of the 2 remaining panel sets, incorporating more color here? Yellow, aqua, green, seafoam, and yet more color. The 4th and missing. Aqua, green, seafoam, yellow. We need an outer sentiment. If you need me, call me on my shell for the top two. And it's time to celebrate. Sealed with a kiss here. Another inner sentiment, thinking of you. Congrats, and congrats on your anniversary. This little shell guy was used on the first card. Then I will take the envelopes that came in your kit, the last 4 largest envelopes, and I'll take the 4th pile. I love the envelope system. So if you like to attend different creative things with friends, go this far with the envelope system, make your sample, show up with your adhesive, your tape, your glue, your bone folder, and you can be really productive in your card making if you have the prep and the intellectual work done up to this point. It's amazing, and it works. I've seen it happen. Okay, so here we have all of our things for our final set. Take the score line and fold to bury the bump. And then we have this second piece. Now for something like this, when we're connecting 2 pieces to make a slimline style card, I like to use my wet adhesive for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's a really good bond. And number 2, it gives me a chance to make a correction in case my alignment isn't perfect, like, you know, when I first put it on there. So now I can really make sure that this card, no one would be able to tell it's made out of 2 pieces. Cool, right? Next, I'm going to take these 2 pieces, the print, and then that larger colored panel, and we'll center this onto the card base. This is the side that does not have any kind of a, I guess they don't really have a seam on the outside, but there is one on the inside. So the seam is right up here. And then add this sweet little print. In your kit, you also received some of these sweet little laser cuts, and you can just go ahead and add the laser cut to the upper center-ish of the card base. Now we have this little sentiment situation, and you also have yardage of this jute. So what I'm going to have you do to make sure that we use just the right amount for all 4 cards is divide it equally. So I'm going to fold it in half twice and snip it on this end, snip it on this end. So now I know I have 4 equal lengths that I can use to embellish all the cards without running out. Okay, so let's just see. I'm going to go only around this 1, 2 around, and then I can tie. Get your friend over to hold it, or just tie in a knot so you can make a nice bow. The jute is nice because it doesn't, you know, it's not really bulky, so I feel okay tying a knot for a card. And then I like to spread apart the layers of the fiber here. That looks so good. I'll turn it over, add my adhesive, and nest it onto the first panel. And then the second panel. I've gone almost the entire class without reaching for my 2x8 grid ruler. Are you proud of me? But now I do want it. The 3x14 will work for this too, but the 2x8 is nice because if I just center it and put the 2-inch edge of my ruler along the bottom edge of the card, so 1.5 on each side and 2 inches from the bottom, which is the width of the ruler, this piece is going to be added so that it's at 2.5 on each side. Okay. I have to be aware of the adhesive too. I can only put adhesive through the center of this panel. If I get it on the outside, no bueno. Okay, so adhesive to the middle. I'm centered, and I'm centered again with the piece. Now, what that means is when I add this cute little slimline card, it's gonna fit right into the envelope perfectly. Then we can take our sentiment for the inside. If you want, you can use the 0 center It's quite a large reveal. Let's figure out what it is. It's a 1/2 inch. And then I'll add my cute little bonus shell. If there's ever like any open area on the cut apart, Jacqueline will put art there so we can use it if we want to. It's all optional, but hey, why not use it because it's really sweet on there. And again, there is your vertical slimline card for a 5x7 envelope. I thought that was such a clever structure. I really like this card map, and I love that little exploding corner pop-up card. So much fun, and you can see now how easy everything is. And plus we have this scrumptious Beachcomber collection. If you liked the kit, we actually have a page kit as well. Many of you know that, but you can grab the page kit and make 8 pages with the Beachcomber kit, and I will do the same type of thing. Trim the paper, help you assemble those pages without any scrap or waste. I mean, very little. It's so cool. It's gonna be fun. This is a club with a membership, and if you're not already a member, I want to invite you to join us. You'll save $8 on your kits. Now, of course, you can shop anytime, but that savings really kicks in if you are a member. And as you're watching this on YouTube, if you could just take a second and give me a thumbs up and hit subscribe on this channel, that really helps us and our little small business out of Wisconsin grow. We appreciate that so much. So thank you again for joining me here at Club Scrap for this fun Beachcomber Card Kit workshop. I hope you liked it and that you'll join us for another workshop again soon. See you then.